Archaeologists were surprised by the discovery of some unusual discoveries that also claim to be the most horrible archaeological discoveries of the universe. The findings are quite astounding. The location of an ancient chemical war. Mummy scream and headless Viking corpse. The theory behind this historic discovery is quite dark and creepy, and also changed several times because of the mystery contained therein. Here is a description of the most horrible archaeological discoveries of the world. In 2009, archaeologists unearthed the foundation of a dry lake that has existed since prehistoric times in the Motala region of Sweden. At that time, they were tripped by the mysterious rocks at the base of the ancient lake. They then began to dig up and discover objects that had structures from primitive ages, such as animal bones, stone tools, and 10 8,000-year-old skulls, ranging from children to adults. They also found the 11th skull hidden deep in the mud at the bottom of the lake. They then found a fragment of one of the skulls intentionally inserted into the cranium of the 11th skull head. However, the horror is not over yet. This is because archaeologists suggest that some of the bodies at the bottom of the lake may also be burned. In 1933, the French archaeologist Robert Dumesnil-Dubuisson performed an excavation in the Dura Europos region, which was near the Al-Salahiyah city, east of Syria. Dura Europos was the place where the ancient Persians besieged their arch-rivals the Romans. During the excavation, Robert discovered several tunnels intended to surround the opponent. He also found a stack of skeletons believed to belong to 19 Roman soldiers in one of the tunnels. All the soldiers were killed in the circumstances of escaping from something. One Persian soldier was also found gripping his armor in panic. However, in that place he found another weirdness, that is the presence of sulfur and asphalt along the wall of the tunnel. This, of course, leaves him wondering what the fact that one Persian soldier died fear, 19 Roman soldiers killed for trying to avoid something, and the remaining sulfur on the wall. As a result, the explanation that can answer the weirdness and a little more plausible is when the investigation was done from British archaeologist Simon James after the excavations of Robert. Simon estimates that the frightening deaths experienced by the soldiers are nothing else because of the very first chemical war ever committed. A group of archaeologists once dug a ditch under a Byzantine Roman bathhouse in the Israeli city of Ashkelon. At that time they pulled a rod that they believed was just a stick. However, they eventually found hundreds of tiny bones. The archaeologists then begin to find the skulls and realize that they are all standing in a ditch, which is nothing but specially designed to dispose of the corpses of a newborn baby. Inside the ancient ditch, the researchers found nearly 100 corpses. No one knows for sure why the bones are there. Initially, they thought that the sewer was used only to throw away the baby girl, where the parents of that period had often treated the women in disrespect. However, from the results of further research mentions that the bones were mostly derived from baby boys. This implies the fact that the bathhouse may be used for prostitutes. They then throw their baby boy in a ditch under the bathing pool, but still raise the baby girl so that it can be prepared for a lucrative life in the future. A group of archaeologists dug an old side street in the Dorset territory of England. Instead of finding rocks, they got something beyond their expectations. A mass grave in which there were the corpses of 54 headless Vikings. These archaeologists then carefully noted the position of the bones. As they begin to dig, they discover something unusual about the grave. This is because the bones of the legs and arms, their heads and skeletons arranged neatly in a separate arrangement. Archaeologists then pointed out early theories that the Viking soldiers might have been killed after being captured by local villagers who survived the Viking attack. Their bodies were then stripped naked and cut into pieces by residents. These residents then take some of their heads to be used as souvenirs or something they can keep. However, archaeologists later changed their theory and claimed that the Viking soldiers were probably not brutally beheaded by a group of people seeking revenge. These Vikings might have been sacrificed in a ritual of the surrounding culture at that time. In 1886, the head of the Egyptian Department of Gastrochemicals, Gaston Maspero, did his routine work, opening several mummy sarcophagi, unpacking their wrappings, and taking down all mummy stuff. However, at that time, he found a very ordinary and plain sarcophagus. Unlike the sarcophagus of kings and queens in Egypt, this sarcophagus gives no information about the identity of the mummy in it. In fact, even more curiously, the mummy was wrapped in sheepskin, a skin considered unclean by the ancient Egyptians. When he finally opened the sarcophagus, Gaston saw that the mummy's hands and feet were bound. He slowly opened the sarcophagus and found this mummy as if shouting with a look in his direction. Because of the strange sarcophagus, bound hands and feet, and seemingly tortured facial expressions, the experts then concluded that the mummy was likely to be poisoned, buried alive, or tortured before dying. Thank you for watching. Do not forget to subscribe this channel.